Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm JR, and with me today is Eric Boggs from the OHIO podcast here at Big Ten Banter. How you doing today, Eric?
Doing well, JR. Thanks for having us in, man. Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I bet you're having a great day. Eddrick
It's
Houston just committed, and I know Twitter is just blowing up from that. So you in a good mood?
JR, every day is a good day to be a Buckeye, but some days are even better than the good ones.
Yeah. There's been a couple days there in November that we won't mention that have been downers lately, but we don't need to talk
hmm
about those. This is all Eddrick Houston day for you guys, so I won't spoil your party.
That's the second five-star defensive lineman that good old Larry Legend has pulled in
Yeah.
this recruiting cycle. He ain't dead yet.
No, it's not. And I've seen some fans online questioning
Uh,
whether or not he should be there. Uh, I don't know if I'd question him if I were them.
nah.
I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So, hey, we got a great show today. If you don't know, we are sponsored by Big Ten Banter Sports. That is what all of our guests come from. Every now and then I'll have a guest from, maybe not Big Ten Banter, but most of our guests come from that. Like Eric here, he has his OHIO podcast, which is also sponsored by Big Ten Banter Sports. We talk all Big Ten all the time here. And if you like the show, please follow us on Instagram, YouTube. We are also on Rumble. Eric was telling me about that in a meeting this weekend, and so I gave us an account there. And we're on Twitter as well. So go ahead and follow us. And then, are you on all of those too, Eric? The OHIO
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah.
Okay,
We're even on TikTok, but
there you
I don't
go.
run that account.
So if you're swiping up and you see Eric's face, you know that it's the OHIO podcast, right?
It's something. I don't know what, but it's something.
All right. Well, hey, we got some good topics today. We have remaining QB battles in the Big Ten. We also have Jim Harbaugh suspension. He looked like he was out of the mud, but Ward Manuel came back and said, "Not today, Jim." We'll get into that a little bit. And then, did the Big Ten conspire against the Pac-12 to shut them down and get less competition? We will answer that question. Eric tells me he has a juicy comment about that, so I cannot wait. But before that, Eric, let's talk some Michigan football, as only an Ohio State fan would like to
Sure.
do. Michigan has self-imposed a 3-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. Now, if you're saying, "Hey, I thought it was 4 games," nope. Jim Harbaugh tried to come to an agreement with the NCAA about a 4-game. They denied it, so they have self-imposed a 3-game suspension. What are your thoughts on this, Eric?
Well, first off, the NCAA at this point has no teeth. There's what is an NCAA? Never heard of her. I mean, what is that? Literally, you have SEC schools who do what they want, when they want, however they want, and the NCAA does nothing about it. Okay, you've got you had ACC schools who literally had students who weren't even going to class, fictitiously putting their grades in, nothing done about that. You had shoe companies paying coaches to get recruits to go to schools in the Big 12, and the NCAA has done zilch about that. So why in the world would they care if a coach gives a hamburger to a recruit? And by the way, this is coming from a Buckeye fan. I think it's dumb. I actually commend Jim Harbaugh for saying whatever in your face. Ward Manuel, what are you doing? Like literally, what are you doing? You should just tell the NCAA, get out of here. You're nothing. Besides, what's the NCAA going to do? The College Football Playoff Committee, who runs football along with the television markets. All right, so NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, ESPN. That's who runs college football, not the NCAA. Get out of here with that. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm mad at Ward Manuel. I am.
I said this on Twitter when the suspension agreement or whatever came out. I said, "Man, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I just don't serve it. I just
Yeah.
don't serve it." Because guess what? The NCAA, they can do nothing. It is all college football playoffs right now. Now, Ward Manuel might, get upset because the NCAA, well, we're going to give you, less scholarships or something, so then they get in a drama. But at the end of the day, honestly, what would happen if Jim Harbaugh just said, "I'm not serving it"? Not doing it.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly. And I know some people out there are like, oh, well, you have to do it because they'll do this. And I hear where you're coming from, because if you're a Buckeye fan, you know what happened to Jim Tressel,
Yep.
and that was heartbreaking. And thankfully, Gene Smith kind of helped you out a little bit by getting Urban Meyer in there, so your program didn't die from that. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I say, just don't serve it. This whole 3-game suspension, I don't know what they think it's going to do. It's not going to make the suspension less. I mean, you come to an agreement for 4, and then they say no, and then you come back and say, okay, well, we'll do 3. Like, that's the math doesn't add up. I don't know if Wharton Manuel needs to go to an algebra class there or something, but the math doesn't add up.
He is a Michigan grad. So
oh wow, yeah, Michigan man. Do you think this will help Jim Harbaugh's suspension be any less, Eric? I just can't imagine it does anything.
No, it's going to do nothing. This is a nothing burger for a cheeseburger.
Nothing burger for
what this is.
And everything I've read has said, has said that this was like a level 2 violation, and nothing probably would have came about it. And then Jim Harbaugh lied about it. Now,
right.
as stupid as I think it is, and I totally agree with your SEC, they do stuff that they shouldn't do. As stupid as I think it is, Eric, why did he lie? Just come out? I mean, Ohio State literally every offseason comes out and Ryan Day says, yeah, we had GAs helping players. Yeah, we had over practice time. Yeah, we did this. I mean, I think they had like 5 level 3 violations, 4 or 5 level 3 violations this year. And guess what? The NCAA, they said, slap on the wrist. It's fine. Now, I don't really think they slapped him on the wrist. They said, just think about us slapping on you on the wrist, and that's it. Like,
so if you self punish yourself,
self-report or something.
If you self-report and you give yourself a I think Ohio State was additional training or something like that. So it again, who is the NCAA?
Yeah.
Don't even know who they are anymore.
Yeah. I guess the big question is, Eric, because I know Ohio State fans are thinking about it. Does Jim Harbaugh come back next year?
Well, he's tried to leave how many times?
Yep.
I mean, I've thought about this a little bit. I think he's got a little bit of a jealous bone for his brother. That Super Bowl bugs him. Mm-hmm. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He views himself as an NFL coach who came back to college to help his alma mater, and in his head, he's helped them already, and he has. Mm-hmm. They were in a terrible spot before he came back, and so what else is there to do other than to win the Natty? And it's just not going to happen. I will be floored if they win a national championship this year. Mm-hmm. Floored. And this is their best shot they have had since I was like 12, and I'm 42 now.
Right.
So this is it. It's do or die. And you can kind of feel like the excitement with that fan base. When we spoke to the Victors Nation, which is the Michigan affiliate on Big Banter Sports, they are national championship or bust. That's where they're at, man. That's where they're at.
I was talking to a Michigan fan the other day, and again, this is just one fan. I don't want to make it sound like they speak for the entire fan base, but I was talking to one the other day, and he told me, he said, at this point, he said, maybe the taste will change in 3 years if it just keeps happening. He said, but at this point, he is totally satisfied with winning the Big Ten and beating Ohio State. He said, well, anything more?
After 20 years of being spanked, I'm sure they are.
But that's what I'm saying is, if you do it for 3 more years, guess what? It's not going to taste as good. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be a desire for more. We don't live in a content society where, it's like, oh, we got this one little thing. That's fine. No, we always want more. And I think even if Michigan fans aren't there yet, I think they'll get there. And who knows? They might. They very well win the next 3 years, the Big Ten and against Ohio State. We will have to see.
You hold a gun in my head. I think he leaves after this year.
Yeah.
If he has the opportunity. That's the problem. He hasn't had the opportunity. Nobody's wanted him because he's a weirdo.
Well, and nobody's wanted him from reports I've heard. Nobody's wanted him also because he wants like complete control. He wants that like GM and coach. Like I choose the entire roster. I also coach the roster thing,
Yeah.
which I don't know. I can't recall. Of course, I'm not an NFL guy or an NBA guy or anything, but I can't recall a single time that working out. You know, I can't. I just can't.
Parcell?
Maybe. Did he have complete GM control?
Yeah, I think he did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So one time.
But it's been a long time.
It doesn't happen often. So who knows? Well, going on from Michigan. Michigan doesn't have a QB battle, Eric. They know who their QB is, but we still have, 4 teams in the Big Ten with a QB battle. One of them being your Buckeyes. What's your reaction to the QB battle right now? Before we get into everybody else, what is your reaction to the QB battle at Ohio State?
It is toxic right now.
Yep.
It has become very toxic in the fan base. You have your Kyle McCord. He deserves it. He's older. He's more mature. And by the way, he was handpicked by Ryan Day over JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the team up north fans don't want to admit that, but JJ McCarthy wanted to be a Buckeye. And Ryan Day went out and got McCord because he thought he was going to be a better match. McCarthy got upset, decided to go to the team up north, and has rewritten history because of that. There is a part of Ryan Day, I have to believe, JR, that says if I give this starting job to Devin Brown, I made the wrong choice. That's a strange dynamic there.
Yep.
Now, if you ask me my opinion, I was one of the lucky ones who got in to watch the first 2 practices that were open to the general public.
Cool.
And I sat there and I watched the practices with an eye on just what did I see. And I always thought McCord was going to win the job. But when I came away from that practice, I said to myself, I'm more impressed with Devin Brown. There's 2 reasons why. Kyle McCord has a little bit of a hitch in his throw that I don't like. He holds the ball too low.
Yeah. He
elongates his arm motion. In the very first play on 7-on-7, he got picked. Ooh. And I said, that split second that it takes him longer to deliver the football because of where he's holding it, DBs who are good, cornerbacks who are good are going to jump that, and they're going to get picks and happen on the first play.
Wow.
Devin holds it up under his chin. He's quick. He's very accurate in the short game and mid-range. But here's where Devin Brown is, in my opinion, a step behind Kyle McCord, and that's the deep ball. Kyle McCord throws a beautiful deep ball.
And we know Ryan Day loves his deep ball.
Yes. So what I think's happening is Ryan Day sees the benefits of both, and he sees kind of the negatives of both. And he's admitted, once I think someone comes ahead, they take a step back and the other guy comes forward. And then it's been the seesaw battle back and forth. If it was me, if it was my decision, if Ryan Day called me up and said, Eric, I need your opinion. My coaching staff is apparently split 50-50, and you're wearing a Woody Hayes hat, so I need to ask you who's going to be the quarterback. JR, I'm saying go with Devin Brown.
Wow.
And here's why. He is slightly more athletic in the pocket than McCord. Now, McCord is not a statue by any means, but Devin Brown, I loved his footwork when I watched him. And given the fact we got 2 new starting tackles, I need someone who can move. Yeah. I need someone who can get out of trouble, can extend the plays. That's why I'm going with Devin Brown. But if you ask me today, who do I think gets start number 1? It's probably going to be McCord at first, but I'm not going to be surprised if they don't play meaningful time in game 1 and he says they're both starters.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is if we're going to see kind of what Michigan did last year, where, well, I can't remember, was it Cade got a half and then JJ got a half, or did Cade get a game and then JJ got a game?
Yeah, so okay. JJ started the season, got game 1. Then
Gotcha.
Cade McNamara got game 2 and didn't look as good, and
Yeah.
it was evident JJ's the starter from there.
Yeah.
So, which was the right decision because
Oh, yeah.
Cade McNamara was a good game manager, but he had a very low ceiling.
Mhm.
JJ McCarthy's ceiling was so much higher.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, I brought this up on the podcast back in spring ball. I said, should Ryan Day copy the blueprint that that Harbaugh used and give him, and the consensus was no, because you want the guy you're going to choose to get those 3 games, and one of which is on the road in Indiana to start the season, because week 4 you go to South Bend, Indiana to take on Notre Dame, and you want those game reps for that starter.
Mm.
That was kind of the consensus everybody came up with, and I think Ryan Day also believed that. So we'll see what he does, because he's very, very conflicted in this thing,
Yeah.
man. When he's asking the assistant coaches, who do you think it should be? And they are like, they have different opinions.
Right.
That's not good. That's not
No.
good.
No. One could argue that it's so good because both guys are so good that you can't even
No.
choose. I mean, one
What
could
would be
argue
so
that.
good is CJ Stroud as our quarterback again this year, and he came
Yeah.
back, right?
Yeah, Ohio State NIL needs to get on the level of the NFL draft number 2 pick, and then maybe, which of course that was the rumor there for a while last year. I remember. And
2
I was like,
million
he's
versus
not
30,
coming back.
2 million versus 36 million. Come on.
Yeah, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. Well, that is all really, really great information, Eric. I tell you, this whole battle is just very, very interesting. And
It's a
honestly, at
freaking
the end of
soap opera, dude.
it
It's a
is.
soap opera right now.
And honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like Ryan Day could choose me to be his quarterback and he'd be fine. I mean, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. out there, Emeka Ibuka, you have Julian Fleming. I mean, that guy, he's probably a top 10 wide receiver in the nation, and he doesn't even get the credit for it.
Can I give you a juicy nugget?
Okay, yeah. I'm in for it.
Cornell Tate might play more than Julian Fleming.
Oh. The
Dude,
freshman?
yes.
Dude?
So at that practice I was at, Julian Fleming had a bad drop.
Yeah.
And had a hissy fit moment. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Cornell Tate caught 10 balls in less than 7 minutes.
Wow.
He was legit awesome.
Wow. From both quarterbacks or just one?
Both, yeah. He was running with the ones the whole time.
Wow.
Here's the thing about him that is unbelievable to think about. And I've heard through the grapevine, this is true. He's ahead of where Marvin Harrison Jr. was as a freshman.
Wow. Well,
that's
Marvin didn't play as a
insane to
freshman,
think about.
Right?
Not until the end of the season in the Rose Bowl. That's when he made his
the Utah game.
Made it. Yeah. But
wow.
So at the beginning of the season, Marvin Harrison Jr. came in and everybody's like, whoa, who's this guy? Right.
Yeah.
Cornell Tate has turned more heads than he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's incredible too, because Mar's freshman year in that Utah, and I know Utah wasn't playing all their starters and stuff. Right. But he had 3 touchdown catches in that game, didn't he? He was like the overlooked player because JSN just decided to go nuclear that game.
Right.
Basically get drafted off that one game alone.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. It was nuts.
Wow. Well, since you mentioned Carnell Tate, if you are somebody who prays or anything, thoughts and prayers for Carnell and his family with the passing of his mother. If you don't know, she tragically was killed in, I think, a drive-by shooting in Chicago, and that's just horrible. So if you don't mind, please, prayers and thoughts for Carnell and his family. I know it's probably gonna be a rough season for him, but hopefully he'll ball out and hopefully he'll.
He seems to be channeling it in the right place, man.
That's good. That's good. My other question was: so we have 3 other schools with QB battles. Yep. We don't just talk Ohio State here, folks. We talk the other schools too. All Big Ten. All right. Michigan State, Indiana, and Northwestern. I will give the people, those who are in the battle for that. We have Taven Jackson and Brendan Sorsby, who I think was the backup for Connor Bazelak last year. Can't remember. No, it was somebody else. Maybe it was him. I don't know. Sorry, my memory is escaping me, but it's him and Brendan Sorsby and Taven Jackson for Indiana, Noah Kim and Caton Hauser for Michigan State, and Ben Bryant and Brendan Sullivan for Northwestern. What say you, Eric? Who are your predictions for each one?
Yeah. So we do on our podcast, we do previews of all the Big Ten schools.
Okay.
And so I've had the opportunity to speak to the other Big Banter podcasts for these teams. Here's the takeaway. Taven Jackson was a 4-star quarterback from the state of Indiana, went to Tennessee, was the backup last year, transferred back home to Indiana. He's athletic. He's probably one of the highest ranked quarterbacks they've ever had at Indiana. You got to put the ball in his hands. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to have those redshirt freshman moments. You're just going to have to grow through them because that's your best chance to win down the road. Spartan Dog from Bacon Wire Podcast, who I highly recommend you have on the show. He's a Noah Kim fan for Michigan State. And so I'm going to lean on him and say that's who they should probably go with is Noah Kim. And so if it's good enough for Spartan Dog, it's good enough for me. And then
I like it.
Yeah. And then at Northwestern, I mean, I don't know who knows, but Jason Monk, who runs our TikTok page on the OHIO podcast, he's from the Mitten State. And he says Brendan Sullivan, who is from the same area that he's from, actually knows the young man. He says he is the real deal. They did look competitive when he was in the games last year.
Yeah.
Quarterback. So I'm going to lean for Sullivan for the Wildcats and hope he doesn't get killed.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I'm almost exactly the same as you. I think Taven Jackson, just Indiana royalty. I think he won 2 state national championships from Center Grove High School. I live here in Indiana, so that's how I know more about them. I think he's the real deal. I think he is going to start, and I think IU is going to struggle, but I think he is going to make some flashy plays. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I think he's going to make some flashy plays. And also, half brother of Trace Jackson Davis, NBA player, so who just graduated from IU this year. So very cool. Michigan State, I'm right there with you. I think Noah Kim. I watched some of his games when he came in last year. Dude, he's the real deal. I've heard some people say Caden Hauser. I think one of our people from Bacon Wire was saying Caden Hauser at one point. I don't know. It's not that I think Caden Hauser's bad. I just think Noah Kim is the real deal. And I think he honestly might have got the spot over Peyton Thorne if he would have stayed. But that's just my hot take for the day. And then Northwestern, I've always thought Ben Bryant, but I've also not looked at it too closely. So maybe Brendan Sullivan is it. I don't know. I just thought Ben Bryant at Cincinnati, and
there's a very good chance they're both going to start at some point this season, man.
They're going to try to do the same thing that Ohio State is, and back to back. So
maybe more so out of necessity as opposed to desire.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, if the offensive line is still having their shower washes, then yeah, that wouldn't go very well. So, all right, we won't mention any more about that. That's a unsavory discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So our last topic, I know we're going long here today, but I just really enjoy talking to Eric, and I think we've got some good insight here from him. So our last topic, and I know you all have been waiting for it. Did the Big Ten and Fox, that's what this article that I found was talking about, did the Big Ten and Fox conspire to finish off the Pac-12 and keep Apple out of college football to keep it for just Fox and ESPN? What do you think, Eric?
Yes and no. So here's the deal about that. If this all started when at the SEC and ABC/ESPN got in bed with one another, and they decided they were going to be the big boys on the block, and they weren't going to share with Fox, and they weren't going to share with NBC. And of course, at the time, CBS was also an affiliate of the SEC. When the SEC decided we're going to bring in Oklahoma, we're going to bring in Texas, and we are going to be the biggest, baddest dog on the block, even though they already were. This forced the hand of Fox and NBC specifically to join up with CBS to create kind of a coalition with one another to combat ABC, ESPN. Now, when they did that, this immediately forced the hand of their hand to say, well, whose contract's up first and who has the best product for us to gleam onto. And then ESPN was all, or excuse me, the Big Ten was all too willing to say, we'll take your money. When that happened, you had the right, I guess you could say, although I didn't appreciate some of the decisions he made, but Kevin, as we call him, Karen Warren, in charge over in Chicago. And he was all too willing to bring in the LA market. And USC and UCLA still had some bad blood from how things went down when Texas and Oklahoma didn't join the Pac-12 and that contract was coming due, and USC was not about to get left behind. And of course, they, being bedfellows with UCLA, said in the cover of night under the sheets, let's go to the Big Ten. And they hightailed it out there. And so this, and of course, Fox was all too familiar and comfortable with that concept. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened, that was the next big domino that ESPN, ABC, and the SEC forced over first. That was the next big domino to fall. So now you have the Big 12 basically scurrying to say, well, we got to stay relevant, right? And so they're taking whoever they can for the Pac-12. The Big Ten's taking Oregon and Washington now. And you have the ACC as the next one over here. What are we going to do? Because they're an ESPN product. And ESPN's not going to be able to pay the same amount of level to the number of schools that the big three, other big three televisions, studios or companies in CBS, Fox, and NBC can do together. Yeah. Now, Apple's interesting to me because Apple could be a player in this, but are they willing, and Amazon as well, are they willing to join up with, say, an ABC and ESPN to make up the difference in money? That's the question. That's the looming question that the ACC wants to know. Mm-hmm. And the Big 12, because otherwise, eventually, we're going to get to NFL light, and we're going to have the AFC, NFC. It's going to be the Big 10, SEC, and we've got basically a two-conference model again.
The Power Two.
I mean, that's kind of where we're heading. But
yeah,
did they do it on purpose? Not really, but at the same time, yeah, they did.
Yeah, I think you just laid it out so well there. A lot of what you said has kind of been my thought with the whole situation. Is you kind of have this lower tier Fox, and you kind of have this lower tier Big Ten, and I know nobody wants to admit it, but I feel like the BCS almost made this happen. Because I hear a lot of people talking right now about how great the BCS was, and let's just go back to the BCS, forget the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. And I look at that and I say, yeah, if you're an SEC fan, sure, the BCS was fantastic. Because guess what? Nobody ever questioned your schedule. There was always an SEC team in the BCS championship game. And there wasn't always, but predominantly there was. And SEC fans will say, well, yeah, we won the championship. You should, yeah, we're the best conference out there. Okay, fine. You won the championship. That's great. But what did you expect Oregon? What did you expect USC? What did you expect Washington to do? To just be okay with being in this conference that nobody respects? Are they just supposed to be okay with not ever gaining the respect to be able to win 11 games, lose one game, and get into the playoffs? USC should have been in the playoffs last year. I know. Ohio State fans don't want to hear that, and that's fine. I think realistically, if we look at it, USC probably should have been in the playoffs last year.
Well,
they lose 2 games, but
actually, I agree with you to a degree. Yeah. So here's been my argument about the college football playoff the whole time. Why weren't you using conference championships to your advantages as round 1?
Yeah.
Like that should be, yes, we have 4 teams. Okay, but if you don't win your conference, well, we're picking the best 4 teams. Well, then it's not a tournament, it's an invitational.
Right. And that's what I was saying from the beginning was if you incorporate conference champions, I'm not saying you need an auto bid or whatever. I get why people have a harder time with that. But what you're saying, incorporate them somehow into the playoff structure, you give conference like play a lot more significance. because if somebody wins their conference, there's actually something there for it. Now, who cares if Alabama wins? Well, Alabama didn't even go to the championship game last year, and they almost made it into the playoffs. I mean, why would you care about anything with the conference? And why would you care if you're an SEC team? Why would you care to play anybody of significance outside of your conference? Because you could literally be Georgia this year, and Georgia will still get in if they lose one game.
And what it would have done too is it would have kept the regional aspect of the sport.
Yes.
So you would have had one Big Ten team, you had one SEC team, you would have had one ACC team, you'd had one Pac-12 team or one Big 12 team, and so you would have kept the regionalization of the sport intact. Now there is no regions, as the Big Ten likes to say. Now we're coast to coast, east to west, soon to be north to south.
And you could have kept recruits home. I mean, that's the biggest thing with this is that Alabama had a huge pipeline in California. So not only were they getting the best of the best out of the South, but they were also getting really good players out of California. Imagine if those teams had a same to similar chance of what SEC teams have, and then those players are saying, yeah, I'll go to USD. Yeah, I'll go to Oregon, because we have a good chance still of making it to the playoffs, making it to the championship game. I know that's not a popular opinion with people because everybody just wants to complain about how college football is dying and it's dead. And we got, all kinds of people out there with that. But I really do feel like the BCS kind of made a lot of this happen. And so if you want somebody to blame, I don't know if you blame the Big Ten or Fox. I think you blame the BCS, and I think you blame this strength of schedule narrative that everybody wants to put out there and say, who cares if you're deserving or not? What's your strength of schedule, which you have no control over,
I guess my argument at this point now is outside of just the sake of argument and pride. What is the whole purpose of winning a conference championship if we're going to 12 teams now?
Yeah.
It could almost hurt you. That extra game, you lose your quarterback or your star wide receiver or, whatever in that game, and it throws your chances out the window. I feel like there's give and take with everything, and we're so fast to change things without realizing the consequences of what we change.
Yeah. I said that from the beginning, 8 teams. That's what I have said from the beginning. 8 teams. You give conference a championship bids to 6 teams, kind of like they had before, and then you have 2 at-large bids. That covers everything. If you have a team, like LSU with injuries, but they had a really good season, they just lost to somebody once in the year because of injuries, okay, you might be able to put them in. Same thing with Michigan or USC, whatever the deal is. But for me, 12 is just too much. I get that complaint, especially now with only 4 Power 5 conferences, Power 4 conferences, I guess. But yeah, so man, hey, this went a little long, Eric, but I appreciate you being on here today. If you were driving into work and it was just a little too long for you, I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, just listen to it on the way home. Just listen. You got time on the way home. Just do that as well. So thanks so much for coming in, Eric. You want to tell people where they can find the OHIO podcast?
Everywhere, man. We're
everywhere.
Yeah, wherever you if you listen audio, wherever you enjoy downloading your audio podcasts, we're there. Just type in the Ohio Podcast, where you'll find us. We have a website, theohiopodcast.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. And, of course, just go to bigbantersport.com. bigbantersports.com. You'll find us there as well. We're the Ohio State affiliate on Big Banter Sports.
Awesome. And what day do you stream?
We stream live every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, and beginning this season, this is really cool, JR. We're doing call-ins. So
nice.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna get the good, the bad, and the ugly of Buckeye Nation on Sunday nights, and to rant and rave or talk about how great we are or how terrible the decision Jim Knowles made on 3rd and 3 in the third quarter against Timbuktu. Right.
Yeah.
So.
I'll be praying for an undefeated season for you, so you don't have to endure too many hard calls to filter out. So, because I've seen them on Twitter, I can only imagine what they'll be doing in a call-in show. So, oh man, all right. Well, yeah, bigbantersports.com. Like Eric said, you can find all of our podcasts there. We are there as well. The Big Ten Huddle. You'll find us on there. You can also find us on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram. We don't have a TikTok yet. Might be coming soon, but we are in all of those locations as well. And then also I don't want to forget to mention this. We are having kind of like a mega team preview this Saturday. I know we're supposed to be on at 12. I don't know if that's live or if that's a recording. I think it's a recording, but you can check it out. So this Saturday, when you get done with Notre Dame and Navy, because there probably won't be very much else on other than that, you can see the Big Banter mega team preview of every team on the Big Banter Sports Network. So Eric, thanks so much for coming on. Tomorrow morning, I will have Alec Whitaker from the Penn State podcast on here. We'll talk some more good things and some more fun topics. So Eric, thanks so much. Any final thoughts?
Hey, I interviewed Alec. Good dude. Great show. You'll enjoy that and enjoy that interview. And just when he says we are, just answer Ohio State.
Yeah. I'll get him with that. So, all right. Thanks, Eric. Have a great day. Bye.
Good evening.